Okay, hello. This video is about my collecting habits, and I describe myself as quite an unfocused collector. That's someone that dabbles in vintage, modern Star Wars, and other lines. I'd say that the majority of my collection is totally Star Wars, 90%, and there's an odd item that I will buy that's maybe from Star Trek or Space 1999 or something like that. And so I would describe this video as the unfocused collector, the mole. So if you imagine a tiny little mole that lives in a tiny little hole and he's scouring the internet looking for anything with Star Wars on it. So it's not just Star Wars action figures, it's books, trading cards, comics. If it says Star Wars on it, this little mole wants it. This little mole could be me. So with my vintage collection, I'd say there's really two main phases. That was the early 90s, say late 92 to 94. In that era, I was able to complete all carded figures apart from Yak Face, or an example of each. Then in 2009, I got a laptop and was able to start going on eBay, and I bought a lot more figures, often the same character I already had but on a different card back, or certain characters that I really liked, like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, or Princess Leia. So that's the sort of main area that my vintage collection grew. So the early 90s, then in 2009 when I got the laptop, so I was able to amass improve my collection quite considerably, and I was able to, in subsequently after 2009, get a couple of sample cards, 3 revenge proofs, and all that sort of stuff. I describe my vintage collection as a hodgepodge of carded figures. It's made up of tri-logos, Kenner, Palitoy, and foreign cards. Foreign cards are a particular favourite of mine, and in the early 90s they weren't much more expensive than the Kenner or Palitoy equivalent. Now it's quite different. Then you move on to loose graded figures. I was always a big fan of grading, so loose graded. I started with the U graded figures, then discovered COOs and variant figures like General Mudane with the green hair. So here you can see the Lily Lede Han Solo Bespin, 3 of my graded figures there, the Hollow Cheeks Sand Person. So you get into that sort of, variants like this PvP Luke X-Wing. Then I moved on a little bit onto bootlegs, not anywhere to what Action Figure Grader has, but I've bought a few Polish bootlegs. I bought a couple of Oratets, so you'll see them in a minute. Those are Lily Lede figures there. Those are the Polish figures. So I think the Darth Vader was the first one I got there. Those 3 AirTat drivers are all Polish, that Russian Oratet. So yeah, I mean, I'm collecting bits of everything, I've got a couple of vintage figures to come hopefully next week from Vectis. I messed up on my Vectis bidding, so but here we're looking at other figure lines. So you've got Action Force, you've got that Knight Rider in the Japanese books, you've got Battlestar Galactica. So I like these other lines, like stuff I had as a child in the 70s, or if it takes my fancy, like that Frankenstein by Mego, I just picked that up because it was so cheap. Those Star Trek aliens, I'm trying to complete the set. Not that I had them as a child, but they are from the 70s. I ended up with a Visionaries figure by accident, again from Vectis. Black Hole, I had those figures as a child, so I quite like them. Dune I never had, but I like the movie, so I picked that up. That Klingon. I remember seeing those figures, but my mum wouldn't let me go into the store, so but I do remember those. The Black Hole again, really like those. I had those. I had definitely had Vincent. This is a modern reactions alien set, so I bought it graded. Then we're moving on to the modern Star Wars, so that really kicked off with Power of the Force 2 in '95, but slightly before that there was the what was it before? The Bendums and the Micro Machines, and just because it said Star Wars, I had to have those as well, so I bought loads of those. Collected the Power of the Force 2 quite heavily. Subsequently, now I'll buy Power of the Force 2 graded, the rare ones like the Rike Skiff Guard, the ATST drive on the freeze frame, Italian carded Power of the Force 2. So I've always collected the modern stuff. I've got a lot of the Power of the Force 2, about half the episode 1, maybe 2/3 of the episode 1. A lot of the Saga Blue, because that was heavily discounted at Toys R Us. Very little OTC, Saga OTC of 2006, but I did grab the VOTC figures and the Saga VOTC figures. Unfortunately, I didn't get many of the Legacy collection from 2008, 2009, but they're worth a lot now, so I missed out on those. 2010, I got loads of the Clone Wars figures on the blue cards. The vintage collection came out then, so I got quite a lot of those. I'd say about 2/3 of the line. The Black Series, got quite a fair few of those. The 3.75 Black Series. Other lines that were released in subsequently after the first release of the vintage collection. Other things like Hero Mashers, Star Wars Rebels, Movie Heroes, and then back into the vintage collection. Also other lines of Star Wars like magazines, comics, place card holders there, VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, games. So that's from '88, I believe. Books about collecting, books about the making of Star Wars, Action Figure Archive by Sansweet. That's a great book. This magazine, collectible price guides. I had that as a child, so I wanted to get that again. This Empire magazine, Kylo Ren, all the different DVDs you can get. Trading cards, of course, so I think that's a modern trading card. This famous 207 era card. I've got about 3 of those. Signed trading cards, great way to get signatures. Those are the original 77 Topps cards. Those are signed cards. A mate of mine did that for me. I must have been about 37 in that picture. This is something I picked up recently. That's the episode 1, Gungan's Sacred Place. Really good set. CO Babel. These are D'Agostini figures, so I've got those quite recently as well. A drawing I did of Boba Fett. These Woolworth Darth Vader I picked up at Woolworths in 2008 when the shop was closing down. I think they discounted them to 83p each. More recent vintage collection there. Disney's doing Star Wars now, so you can pick up figures there. Kubrick, that's the J slot Boba Fett. Some of my figures there, I think they're all modern. This one I picked up last year, this Castellari Obi-Wan Kenobi, got it for a great price. It's a computer drawing I did. Other lines like Action Fleet, Titaniums. There's a die-cast TIE Bomber, that's quite a highly sought piece now. The original 79 die-cast Kenner Falcon, an Action Fleet Snowspeeder, very nice piece. Hot Wheels, Titaniums, the Star Wars cars. That's the Titanium and Hot Wheels there. So, I like doing those sort of comparison videos, and they tend to do really well. That's quite recent. Those are the Hot Wheels Land Speeder. That's an Action Fleet twin pod cloud car. Prototype items like that would have been the Comtech 2 chip, but it never got released. various R2D2s, including the vintage one, some of the vintage collection figures, the Last Jedi basic 3.75 figures. So, you know, especially when figures get heavily discounted, I'll try and pick up as many as I can. The last lot I did in that sort of way was the solo figures just before lockdown last year. I got quite a lot of those ones, and they're quite hard to find, and they were only about £3.33 each in the Entertainer. But it's nice to like do comparisons of figures as well and see how they've evolved over the years. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the few legacy collection figures I got. Black Series, that's a great line. That's a rare one, the ATST pilot on the freeze frame card. I mean, I already had that one, but because it was graded and it was at a great price, I picked that one up. I think you'll see that C3PO twice. That was a mistake I made. Then you buy packs like that. That's from 10 years ago, that from a graveyard hole video I did. Then you can do artwork with the figures and stuff like that. That one I'm glad I picked up. It's quite rare now. Yeah, I mean, you can get Star Tours. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, really, you need to be focused. And I mean, with the comics, I collected a lot of the Dark Horse comics, maybe for 7, 8 years, 9 years, and it's just getting too much. And there's so many titles, and you know, I was just storing them, not reading them or anything like that. So I thought it's time to stop collecting the comics. I haven't got any of the new Marvels. I do have the full set of the original US Marvels. That's Star Wars Celebration, the Sith Lord 229. Yeah, so I would describe my collection as very eclectic, very messy, very unfocused. Nowadays I tend to be a bit more, you know, or try to be, but I'm not always, you know. Obviously with this Vectis, that's cost me an arm and a leg, because I didn't realise I'd won something, and then so I was bidding on other stuff, and it ended up that I've won 2 items, and when you put the fees on, it's become rather expensive, but you live and learn. So the TAC as well, 30th anniversary collection, got loads of those. Woolworths again was selling them off really cheap. I mean, there's a lot of figures like the Darth Revan, the Darth Malak from TAC, the Solo twins from the Legacy collection. I think I had them in hand and I put them back, much to my regret now. But you live and learn. I did the same with the Tri-Logo Jawa back in '93. I could have picked that up for 40 quid, but you know, I didn't realise. I didn't have the hindsight to realise that was going to be really valuable in the future. So yeah, I bought a lot of the TAC figures, especially when lines get discounted. But in the end, it takes up space, and you know, if you're a carded collector. So, but you know, maybe I should be a bit more focused. I mean, at the moment, I'd say what I'm trying to collect are the variants of the vintage figures, foreign variants, you know, whenever they come up at a decent price, which isn't often these days. Really, I should try and use Facebook more than eBay or Vectis. I mean, Vectis was not the best. Anyway, I hope you liked looking at this video. Cheers, goodbye.